So let's talk about how to run Nigeria as a business. When I say running Nigeria as a business, I'm talking about the whole ecosystem. But I will start with the Nigerian Foreign Reserve. If you look at the Nigeria Sovereign Investment Authority, who are the ones in charge of managing all the assets that the Nigerian government has. And if you look at the investment that the CBN manages, which is about 43, 45 billion, depending on how well we are doing or how well our reserve is doing, you realize that they are investing the money especially in low risk, low reward investment. But if we should give NSIA more power to manage the fund, you realize that they will go into more profitable long-term investment. Invest more in equity. Give NSIA more power. For example, they managed about 4 trillion. So I would empower NSIA to manage more funds, run Nigeria as a business, including the local economy. I am not saying the NSIA have to invest in Nigeria, because when they invest in Nigeria, run business in Nigeria, it may rally up the market, which is not really very good. Identifying some industries, invest in equity like AI boom that is going on today, invest in transportation in countries that are doing well, in health, and many other places, really. Investing in risky investments, but that are also of high return as well. Now, that's one part of it. But again, let's now come back and then drill it down to Nigeria as an economy. Imagine where the Nigerian government identifies those areas, like I mentioned, 20 areas, and then they decided to create what we call the 1,000 to 10,000 markets. And what does this really do? You look at a struggling industry, you push in money there. Let's say, for example, it is manufacturing of maybe tomatoes, manufacturing of shoes. Maybe I will just use those two items as an example. So all you just need to do is to say, hey, we know you guys are struggling. The prices are about to go up. We just want to manage, not necessarily to control price. We just want to manage. Can you supply us, 20 million sachets of tomatoes? Can you supply? We need 200,000 pairs of shoes, for example, within a very short period to push the market. And what is the idea behind this? The idea behind this is to run Nigeria as a business. It's not to create unnecessary supply into the market. What you're trying to do is to support the producers, the manufacturers, to ensure that the supply chain is strong enough to stabilize the economy. And then the next thing we would also do would be to look at manufacturing. All the people that are manufacturing, we will give them low interest loan compared to people that are doing trade. People that are doing trade are not doing anything bad, but we'll invest more on people who are manufacturing, because Nigeria needs more manufacturing than just people who are doing trade. Currently, the Nigerian banks need to really do a lot of work. Currently, they are not doing so much in terms of helping manufacturers. And I'm talking about small manufacturers. Sometimes they call them very risky investment. However, if with the proper training, which is what we have taken care of through the education and then vocational training as well, if the banks can provide the kind of support that is needed, supported by the federal government, then you will see that the economy is going to boom effectively. Now, how to run Nigeria as a business is a topic that is very, very wide. I've only streamlined it into just main areas, focusing on how we should manage our foreign reserve, and also what NSIA is also doing, how they can run and manage all the assets. There are lots of assets at the moment that the Nigerian government owns that are not really producing anything. If you look at it carefully, look at NLNG, Nigerian Liquefied Natural Gas. The Nigerian government is making a lot out of that. Imagine if you hand all these things over to the NSIA, and by the end of the year, NSIA will be the one to now report back to the Ministry of Finance. So how does this really work? Let me quickly give you an idea. The NSIA, Nigeria Sovereign Investment Authority, manages all the assets that the federal government owns. NNPC is going to be under NSIA. The partnership with NLNG, the Nigerian part of it, is going to be under NSIA. The partnership with Dangote is going to be under NSIA. So all the investment that the Nigerian government owns is going to be run by NSIA, whereby the only shareholder of NSIA is just the Ministry of Finance, obviously, which is also the federal government. And by the end of the day, the NSIA will now come and do reports to the Ministry of Finance. And then the Ministry of Finance will also assess the report, and we will know how much we have made as a profit. It is from there we can now take a part of it to reinvest, and then take a part of it to also take care of the Nigerian budget. You will see that the NSIA will look at the Nigerian economy as a pure business from a different prism. People will always say the government is a bad businessman. No. That used to be in the past. Today, if you have to run Nigeria as a business, you definitely need to put your nose into different industries where if you allow them to push by themselves, think about it. You say capitalism, for example. If you say capitalism, you realize that the kind of competition that is out there, the Nigerian people are not ready, do not have the capacity to manage that level of competition. And what do you need to do? What you have to do in this case is to jumpstart the economy. The government needs to jumpstart the economy, provide the necessary logistics, the support. And when that industry begins to flourish, the Nigerian government will eventually remove itself from it. I'm saying that we should look at Nigeria economy as a business, purely as a business. Why the government may not be directly involved through NSIA or any other parasite that could be created, the government would use that entity to run the economy, to run Nigeria as a pure business. Take, for instance, if you have directors in different ministries and they're not performing, let them go. It is that easy. There will be metrics to measure the output of every individual. Therefore, while running Nigeria as a business, there are key areas we need to look at. Every sector, every department will be a strategic business sector, which means Ministry of Health, for example. We look at it from the angle of if we keep our society healthy, if everyone in Nigeria is healthy, how would that impact the Nigerian economy? Education. If the education sector is working effectively, how would that affect Nigeria positively? If the transportation, logistics, IT, AI, everything put together, when you put all of these things together and make sure they are working effectively, how would they affect the Nigerian economy effectively? That means we need to have that idea, we need to have that focus, that plan that we're going to run Nigeria as a business. And we would have vertical integration. In fact, even our foreign policy has to be business. Nigeria's interest is in international arena has to be business. And when everybody understands that we are here for business, yes, we are also here to make impacts, to help other people, to help the world, but we are here for business. When everyone understands that Nigeria is here for business, you will see different countries joining us to achieve our goals. They will make decisions with us based on the fact that they know that we are here for business.